Resting on the right-hand side of my desk is a stack of yellow legal pads, opposite of where my coffee cup usually lives, because you see, I'm left-handed. They're stacked neatly, waiting for use just below the cracked ceramic mug, the one I can't bear to throw out, which is filled with pencils. No, I'm sorry. Not apologetic, simply sorry. They're not slender, yellow Ticonderogas, carefully sharpened to a fine point with which to offer brilliant, balanced banter or bankrupt bon mots, or penned practical or poisoned parochial puns, or innate, insipid insults barbed with ice tips. They are knockoff brand, throwaway clear plastic mechanical pencils from the dollar store. But they sit there waiting. Those many pages of blue-lined yellow legal pads whispering, pick up one of those knockoff brand throwaway clear plastic mechanical pencils from the dollar store and write on me. They taught me relentlessly. And I succumbed to their pressure. I do not aspire to greatness. I find myself quite comfortable with acceptance. While there are many who we consider as being great, in actuality, there are still far too few to fulfill the qualifications of the classification of greatness. There are far more who happen to think they are. Great, that is. Ginsberg was great. Bukowski was great. Cassidy, of course, Ferlinghetti, McEwen, and of course, Kerouac. Kerouac and the whole group, they are and always will be great. I've traveled, like Jack, across the country, nearly coast to coast, and back again more than just once or twice. Occasionally, just to do it. I've traversed by bus and airplane, not by train, at least not yet. Personally, among my quests, up and down the roads, the southern route, the northern route, I believe I preferred the bus. It was really weird, the people you meet. It's quite amazing. But as I traveled, I was imagining I was observing at least some of the same things that Jack and Neil may have seen. Perhaps, just perhaps, I did. Like Ginsberg, I have stood on soot-capped rooftops on gray-skied days, waiting, wondering what monstrous, magical, or monumental event or experiences would appear before me next. Many fog-shrouded mornings I found me slumped on San Francisco stoops, like Lawrence, puzzling and mulling over misguided words, thoughts quite suddenly occupying my mind, quizzical as to why they felt the necessity to invade my psyche, insisting on being recognized, recorded, to be remembered. In order to write, I do not need to be like Burroughs to exhale a sigh at the bliss of the needle's kiss. I am not required to, nor do I feel the need to shoot a piece of fruit on top of a lover's head. It's still probably a decent thing I don't have a lover. Yet even if I did, I could use words instead of an arrow. Because as we all know, they wound just as deeply. I am not inclined, as McEwen said, to listen to the warm or to the still, as I have spent far too much time out in the cold amidst a cacophony of cruelty, callousness, and misplaced consonants, or to find or to lose love. Along the way, along the miles, I've met a multitude of broken boy soldiers who live as if someone keeps randomly pushing the buttons of the car radios of their lives, who bathe in the lurid filth, the tales and sin and degradation of other people's minds. There's been so many that never had a clue as what direction to go, especially when the bombs went off, and they do, you know. Eventually, all the bombs, they go boom. They never learn that the thing about the end of the game is that means all the pieces have to go back into the box. Now, at long last, I no longer feel the need to ask how far down the road I must travel to find out where it goes. It doesn't matter. And really, it never did. I need not type 100,000 words on one continuous scroll of vellum, as there are 100,000 poets, each of whom can sigh a single word which can then be woven into a piece that says a million things. My words are not commanded to hurt, to heal, to teach, to cure, or even to make one feel better. They are not meant to be cathartic nor caustic, at least not generally or intentionally. They have little or no life if they are dispersed with malice. They must be freely offered, freely taken as they are. For what meager merit or worth for which they may be accepted, I require little. Friends of which I am honored to have many. My necessities come from basements, storage lockers, rummage sales, and thrift shops. I've learned to make acquaintances with the clerks at St. Vincent's de Paul. An overcast day on which to wash the windows, morning, sunshine, spring blooms, dusk, absence, autumn leaves, and yes, even the cold and snow. I require rest. I require sustenance. I require caffeine. I require acceptance. I have no requirement for greatness. One more and then I will turn it back over to Nick. It's called Man Walks Into a Bar. A man walks into a bar because he's had a bad day. He's had a good day. Doesn't want it to end. He's never been there before. He's meeting a friend. He wants to make new friends. He doesn't want to be alone. A man walks into a bar because he's looking for a good time. He's had a good time there before. He's never had a good time. He's never partied. He would like to party. He'd like to know what it is to party. A man walks into a bar because he's comfortable there. He likes to be comfortable. He loves people. He loves to be with friends. He's never had friends. He wants to have a friend. A man walks into a bar because he's different than most, yet he's just like others. He's brave and confident. He's secure in his own skin. He knows who he is. He has no idea who he is. A man walks into a bar because he's lonely. He wants to get laid. He's hoping to find someone to be with. He's hoping he won't see his ex there. He's hoping to find a new partner there. He's afraid he might find his partner there. A man walks into a bar because he's sexy, he's hot, and he knows it. He's unattractive, but he feels good there. His life is empty. His life overflows with good. His heart is full. His heart aches. A man walks into a bar because he can be himself there. He can pretend to be someone else there. He can be with his own kind. He can find others different yet the same. He can be proud. He can be invisible there. A man walks into a bar because there's music. There are bright lights. There's liquor. There are pretty people. There are not so pretty people because there was a parking place out front. A man walks into a bar because it is filled with laughter, it's fun, it's scary, it smells like the men's department at Macy's, it smells like the gym, because it calls to him. A man walks into a bar because he's tired from studying for a big chem test. He passed a big chem test. He failed that chem test. He's happy. He's depressed because loneliness lives in his home. A man walks into a bar because he finds solace there. He hopes to find solace there. He's never had sex. He wants to have sex. He always wants sex. He wants to know what it is, what it's like to make love. A man walks into a bar with a smile on his face, with a sneer on his face, with makeup on his face, with a mask of a face not his own, with hopes of having a good time, without any time left. A man walks into a bar in Orlando, Florida, where 49 people will never laugh or drink or party or live to walk into a bar again, where 53 people will be carried out on gurneys to waiting ambulances, where lovers, partners, husbands, wives, friends, mothers, fathers, sisters, and brothers will never be able to hold, speak to, or see their loved ones again, where 49 angels will sing for our souls. Man walks into a bar.
The skyscrapers are made to distract us. Endless towers of glass reflecting only vanity look away from their self-important light. Look instead to the dark places where society hides its mistakes and the unwanted scavenge in the refuse of privilege, while loudspeakers on every single corner remind us to be grateful for unearned generosity. How generous of them to forget that satiating their supersized gluttony is worth a wage large enough to put a roof over our heads, clothes on our backs, food in our stomachs. But this money is earmarked to build the shrines of capitalism, buildings so tall humanity looks faceless. So as the dollar declines, the impoverished become currency, forced to their already bleeding knees to lick the boots of the new regime before being trampled into the dust of history. So tell me, don't you love that new carpet smell, Mr. President? Thank you very much.
I must have been 7 years old. We were eating lunch one Sabbath after church at the home of some very dear friends. My mother, being my mother, served my food for me. I was looking at some very nice grub. Mac and cheese, tomatoes, corn, flautas. It was the traditional Sabbath plate of food. All good, none of it too healthy. There was one thing on my plate that bothered me, though. My mother had failed to remember that I don't like green beans. I didn't like a lot of things when I was 7, including avocado, lettuce, enchiladas, and beans. But if there was one thing that really made me gag, it was broccoli. Lucky for me, there was no broccoli on the plate. That's a different story. Instead, I was face to face with another green creature, the green bean. I decided to do the polite thing, not make a scene. I just started eating around it. This was working nicely until my mother, who was seated next to me, leaned in close to my ear and said, "You are going to eat everything on that plate. And I mean everything. Is that clear, young lady?" I began to pout. Everything? I had to eat everything. Just because she had been so clear in her elocution of my torture didn't mean I was going to listen. I started trying to hide the offending legumes. This was very difficult to do when you're 7 and all the other food on your plate looks so good. You leave very little, if not nothing, to hide your beans under. So I just waited until I thought she wasn't looking. If you are around the age of 7 and you are reading this, trust me, she's always looking. And I placed my napkin on my plate casually on top of my green beans. Mission accomplished. "Can I have some ice cream now?" I asked. I figured the sooner I got this plate away from me, the less chance I had of her finding out my scheme. My mother looked at my empty plate and said, "No, you may not have ice cream." I was shocked. She must have noticed it in my eyes. "Elkid, you can have ice cream when you finish all your food." And with those deadly words, everything went into slow motion. My mother stopped eating. She put down her fork. She reached over to my place at the table, and to my horror, she took the napkin from my plate to reveal the detestable vegetable. "Elkid Marie, I don't care how you do it, but you're going to eat those green beans." As everything went back to the normal speed of motion and my mother went back to her conversation, I began to get teary-eyed. I did not want to eat those green beans with all my heart, and my mother noticed me trying to hide my tears, and she attempted to ease my panic. "Look, I can put some more macaroni on your plate, and you can eat it mixed in, but you're gonna eat them." I sniffled. She sighed. She looked at me. "You can even pretend they're green French fries." Hope lighted my heart. French fries? I loved French fries. Mom? Yes, Elkin. If I pretend that they're green French fries, will you put some ketchup on them for me? My mother did not bat an eye. She leaned over, took the bottle of ketchup, and squirted a generous dollop onto my plate. I dipped in my green bean in the little puddle and tasted it. It was perfect. Needless to say, that meal ended with a generous bowl of vanilla ice cream.
Ready? 1, 2, 3. Teeming is the word I think of when I recollect the time I was dog-sitting Buster and he found in the woods that flourish of maggots, extravagant in their industriousness, metropolitan in their overcrowded bustle, mosh pit, bacchanal, abundance, holiday, so hypnotic, like a funhouse mirror, reflecting future this guy. I lost myself within their orgy, tumbling in that luscious suck child in a ball pit playroom where all the balls are moist and gray like gym socks trailing membrane as they French kiss every fresh inch of you. Oh, this epic simile itself cannot withstand. Oh, wet Thanksgiving, in exhaling, give us a kiss. No denture, lip smack beating vascular, medulla oblong, necroplasm, smooching noises verberate and reverberate. Who art in heaven, teacher, this isn't hard saying. Cannibalistic mistletoe, toothless, the magic-eyed jigsaw, blur my vision, shake my etch-a-sketch of everything but the gush of static a rotten TV station oozes. Oh God, wherefore art this thick vermicular slush, mopping up what I can barely make out to be a rabbit corpse, slathered now in Eucharistic abandon. Matthew, I told you I'd write a poem for you. Was this mucus symphony snot what you expected? Your name means gift. Your name, the name Matthew, means gift of God or friend of God, depending. And perhaps this is why I feel like God, because you are my friend, and I in turn am yours, and because friendship can neither be forged nor earned, and because it is ultimately as elusive as a miracle in this world, so rife with decomposing rabbit carcass, hashtag inauguration. So perhaps this is why my portrait of you rise with the tempestuous oceana of maggotry, because even here in this bile-curdling, still warm heap of death, not just one has found a feast, and not a few, but many. Thank you.
Hey guys, I have the really unique pleasure this time of introducing somebody who does so much work behind the scenes to make everybody else be able to make art. She's right over there. She's hiding. She's also our brand new writer-in-residence for the Racine Arts Council. And she's our local spotlight for this Bonk. I always write a little poem to introduce our local spotlights. She didn't ask me to write her letter of recommendation, but this is my letter of recommendation for Peg. Peg Rocher-Thompson is a writer and clown aficionado. She's a literary desperado full of lady bravado. Now don't be fooled by Peg. She's looking all inauspicious like she's making dollhouses. She does. But this chick, she is vicious. She can spit out some words that would blister the paint. She can make truckers blush and harden sailors faint. But she's shy. Most of the time she's hanging behind the scenes, acting as Bonk's video homie and cranking out zines. She's queen of nano, feeding her scared writer birds, extolling and cajoling to write out their words. And now she's repping the RAC and left of the lake. She's one of the busiest bees, folks. None of this, what I've said here, is fake. But let's get her up here to hear her verbs and her nouns. Peg Rocher-Thompson, everyone. Send in the clowns.
They outnumbered us in their warm pajamas. The stinging smell of chlorine, swirling with waffles made by excited children, batter embellished on time machines, salty and peppery. apples he grabbed and then refused to eat. Another's tongue stuck to the salt shaker. He said he didn't, but he did. I considered the pool, not wanting a repeat of yesterday's bloody nose, hence the excessive chlorine. Instead, we dressed, packed illegal coolers, returned to our places, wondering if they applauded when we left. And then I spent a summer binge reading Conan Doyle. And then I had a very strange dream about someone that I'm actually putting together a book of our conversations because they're so bizarre. So I had this very weird dream that came about to be a poem. It's called Elemental. I ask if you live near Baker Street as we count to 17, and you laugh, thinking, I do not know he's dead. A logical observation, you say, as I step on the toe of your Persian slipper. And with 6 words, your great brain shares a litany, the 7% solution, the nature of legal drug trade in Victorian times, and how syringe was derived from the Greek. But I am your Watson. Standing before the fire, its sharp blade holds our correspondence. Violins play as Earl Grey steeps, and I glimpse your great heart. Feel breath on saline skin. Realize I am not dead, but merely sleeping. And the last one is a response poem to a piece of artwork that a friend of mine painted. And it refers to our children, and it's called Feathers and Stones. In my world of words, we are notched by our view of the truth. So we teach our children of light patterns on feathers, that in a different vein, its flawless nature changes. We fill them each day another delicate thought, stuff their heads like pillows, and in the end discover that we know nothing, that they are the holy ones. And we have glimpsed this truth written on their souls. We gratefully study chapter and verse, feel it sink to the center of us, carry this feather child. Weighted by sacred language of owls and ravens, let it sustain us. This crumb of knowledge, this egg of truth, until we too catch the wind and take flight. Thank you.